Children in the Middle Ages did not grow up slowly. There was no long childhood, no protected years, no time set aside just to be young, no space to remain innocent. From the moment a child could walk, they were already becoming useful. Not encouraged, not prepared, required. In medieval Europe, childhood was not a stage filled with comfort and discovery. It was a narrow passage between birth and labor, between dependence and responsibility, between survival and death. Most children were born into families that struggled every single day. Food was limited, work was endless, rest was rare, homes were small and crowded. Several generations lived under one roof. Privacy did not exist. Silence did not last. Large families were common, not because life was easy, but because loss was constant. Illness spread quickly. Medicine was weak. Many children never lived past their first years. Parents learned early not to expect tomorrow. Love existed, but it lived beside fear, and fear shaped how children were raised. If a child survived early childhood, expectations arrived fast. There was no celebration, only acceptance. Another mouth that needed to work. By the age of 5 or 6, work had already begun. Carrying water from distant wells, gathering firewood in all weather, cleaning, running messages, watching younger siblings. Small hands were useful. Small bodies were efficient. And no effort was wasted. There was no clear line between play and labor. Games looked like work. Work looked like life. And life did not wait. By 7 years old, many children were no longer seen as children at all. This was the age of reason. The age when discipline became strict. When mistakes were punished, not corrected. Peasant children worked in the fields beside adults. Planting in spring, harvesting in autumn, enduring heat, enduring cold. Long days were normal. Exhaustion was expected. Complaints were ignored. Boys were often sent away from home, not to explore but to serve. Apprenticeships began early, 7, 8, sometimes younger. They lived with masters, slept where they were told, worked from dawn until night. They learned trades, blacksmithing, carpentry, weaving, farming. Discipline was harsh, punishment was common, obedience was survival. Girls lost childhood just as quickly, often faster. From an early age, they were trained for the home, cooking, cleaning, spinning wool, sewing clothes, caring for children not their own. Their future was decided early. Marriage came young, sometimes in the early teenage years. Especially among noble families, choice did not matter. Alliances mattered. Bloodlines mattered. Power mattered. A girl could move from childhood directly into adulthood, into marriage, into pregnancy, into responsibility. Noble children lived differently but not freely. Noble boys trained for war and command, riding horses, handling swords, learning to obey before learning to lead. Violence was not distant, it was preparation. Noble girls were trained for control and obedience. Religion, manners, household management. Their movements were watched, their behavior judged, their future arranged. Education was rare. Most children never learned to read or write. Books were expensive. Schools were limited. Knowledge was passed through repetition, through correction, through punishment. Not curiosity. Play existed, but briefly. Simple toys, sticks, stones, moments stolen between tasks. Play was not protected. It was allowed only when work was done. Religion shaped every stage of childhood. Children were believed to be born sinful. Discipline was seen as mercy, punishment as guidance. Silence was valued, obedience was praised, self-expression was discouraged, illness was constant, cuts became infections, fever became death. Children worked with sharp tools, heavy loads, dangerous animals. Many died from accidents adults barely noticed. Death was familiar. Children saw siblings die, parents die, neighbors disappear. Grief was not explained. It was endured. War passed through villages. Famine emptied homes. Disease erased families. In such a world, innocence did not last. Emotionally, children aged quickly. Fear taught them. Loss shaped them. Responsibility hardened them. By their early teens, many children lived adult lives. They worked full-time. They married. They fought. They ran households. There was no adolescence, no pause, no transition. Childhood was not defined by age. It was defined by usefulness. As soon as a child could contribute, they were expected to, without hesitation, without exception. Growing up too fast was not seen as cruel. It was seen as necessary, as natural, as life. When we look back today, we see how modern childhood truly is. In the Middle Ages, children grew up fast because life demanded it.